Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Zero Hour, Fox News. I'm not going to even say anything else for a second. I'm just going to say the words Fox News, and whatever weird parade projects itself on the inside of your skull is probably accurate. Now we're going to go into a little more detail about Fox News with our next guest, good friend of the program, good friend of ours. We always love it. Having him on, Eric Boehlert is an author, a senior fellow at Media Matters, and an expert in the madness that is the right-wing noise machine. Eric, thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
So, Bill O'Reilly,
Right.
we will pause for a moment of silent schadenfreude before continuing, and then let's just think for a second from a journalistic point of view. I guess, you know, we're surprised and not surprised, speaking for myself, that there's been apparently no consequence for the outrageousness of Billow's lies on all of this stuff. Why, first of all, give us, if you would, your 30-second take on the extent of his deception, and then we'll talk about why it seems so far to have been entirely consequence-free.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. It started a week ago with Mother Jones detailing how O'Reilly had sort of fabricated and lied, exaggerated about his Falkland War reporting. Media Matters this week had two important stories. One is he had claimed as a young reporter in Dallas he had heard the shotgun blast of someone, sort of a central figure in the JFK assassination investigation, who had killed himself, and Bill O'Reilly was on the guy's porch when he heard the gunshot. He was actually 1,200 miles away in Dallas, so he made that up. And he also he's made up several times when he was in El Salvador, he saw 4 Catholic nuns be shot in the head during the El Salvador Civil War. That was an incredibly famous event back in the 1980s. O'Reilly again and again said he was there, he saw it happen. He wasn't there, and his response this week was, "Well, I meant I saw pictures. I saw pictures of the dead nuns. That's what I was talking about."
I wanted to talk about that one in particular for some reason. First of all, the profanity, and for a guy who says he's a practicing Catholic to lie about the murder of nuns just boggles my mind.
It boggles my mind, and here's a quick interesting point on our website. We have comments, and someone left a comment. It was a relative of one of the nuns. I think it was a niece, and she just, she said, "Thank you for reporting this. This is so offensive; it's beyond description." So yeah, I mean, he brags. It's a very good point that hasn't really gotten that much attention. Half the Fox, hosts, could probably broadcast from the Vatican. I mean, they talk about they're Catholic, they're so Catholic, and they're so faithful and things like that. To lie about a truly seminal, event in the Catholic Church in the last half century it truly does boggle your mind. I mean, it's a good point.
And by the way, you could have ended your sentence with "to lie," because my Catholic grandmother was frighteningly stern. You're not even supposed to lie, much less lie about the church and the martyrdom of 4 nuns. So, and his answer, Eric Boehlert, his answer actually, for a second, I listened to it and I thought, am I tripping? And no, you are. Because his answer was literally, after years of saying, "I saw nuns murdered." No, what I meant to say is I saw a picture of murdered nuns. I mean, I know their audience is reality challenged and enters the bubble, but who can believe that with a straight face?
It's a very good question, and if you really want to break it down, so the first story we did this week was about the JFK assassination, and again, he was 1,200 miles away. Yes, he was chasing the story about this key figure who killed himself. Over years, he decided he was going to place himself on the guy's porch while he shot himself. So we reported that. We had all these sources who worked with him in Dallas saying, this is total fabrication. There's no way he did this. And the Fox response was total silence. Radio silence. They fought furiously against Mother Jones in the Falkland Wars, and he had people on who claimed bolstered his case, and he said it was a left-wing smear campaign. For Media Matters, radio silence, because there literally is no response. With the El Salvador, it's amazing that they felt like that response was worth airing. I mean, your point is a good one. It's so unbelievable. It's so stupid. It's so illogical. Who at Fox News, heard that spin, and they said, "Well, we ignored the JFK story, but let's go with this rebuttal because it's better than nothing." It's 10 times worse than nothing.
Of course,
it's like saying you were at Iwo Jima because you saw the picture of the flag being raised. I mean, where would it end? I mean,
Eric Boehlert, it's like me saying when I was 10 years old, I saw the Fantastic Four defeat Galacticus and save the universe.
You saw the pictures.
I saw them.
But that's where we are. I mean, that's the craziness, and that's how far down the rabbit hole we're tumbling with this guy. And one other quick point.
Sure.
So Dallas was 77, El Salvador was 80, the Falklands was 82, and then The Guardian, which we haven't mentioned, reported yesterday that 6 former colleagues from Inside Edition say O'Reilly was making stuff up about his reporting from the L.A. riots. So we've gone from 77 to 80 to 82 to 92. So that's the timeline so far.
You're right, and the L.A. riots story, as I recall, was he said that bricks were raining down on them while they were, which, by the way, presupposes rioters at an elevation somehow levitating and throwing them down. But even that aside, apparently the real story is one guy got mad and threw a brick at them and broke a camera.
And one of the colleagues said he showed up in a limo to report from the L.A. riots, which was just an amusing side note.
They'll write folk songs about that someday.
Yes.
But now look, I just assumed that despite the fantastical nature of this guy's lies, and, I'm always careful about making sure, since we're broadcast, not to, cross the line. Bill O'Reilly is a liar. Now, I'm always worried, but I always assume that Fox News and its audience, its core audience, they're just above. They're impervious to truth bullets of any kind. But now your last piece, your most recent piece, just came out. Yes, O'Reilly's fabrications are damaging Fox News. Music to my ears, but how so?
Well, I sort of take issue. I sort of push back a little bit. But what I saw was sort of a common media refrain in the last week was he's not going to be fired. It doesn't matter. In fact, Fox News loves a battle like this, so it's really a win-win for him. He's relishing this fight, and people are just, this whole thing has backfired. Instead of, denigrating Bill O'Reilly's reputation, it's only improved it. Well, the initial part about, he loves a good fight, and that means he's winning, that applied to the Mother Jones, because he was in bluster mode. But as I pointed out this week, it's been radio silent. So if him hurling insults at people meant he was winning, the opposite then must hold true. If he has gone silent, if he has no defense, if he has no rebuttal, that means he's not winning anymore. So I think that initial sort of spin doesn't apply. And I also think it's this misnomer that, O'Reilly's an entertainer, and of course this is what he does. If you think someone with the ego the size of Bill O'Reilly gets up and goes to work and thinks of himself as an entertainer, you don't understand Bill O'Reilly. He thinks he's one of, if not the most powerful men in television news. That is his philosophy. So he doesn't see himself as an entertainer. And if you think he enjoyed going to work every day, knowing that he was being documented as a chronic liar, you also don't understand the fragile egos involved with TV newscasters. So I think this idea, A, he loved it, and B, it was just water off the back. Both of those don't apply. And my last quick point is,
sure.
And the basis for this commentary that it doesn't matter was the sort of agreement within the media that Fox News isn't even a news organization. That's a major shift from the last 5 or 6 years ago, When Obama first came into office and the White House pushed back against Fox News, they all rushed to the front lines. They said, you cannot attack Fox News. That's a legitimate news organization. Yes, they might be conservative at night, but they're just like ABC.
Well,
I don't think you could find two people today that would come to Fox News' defense and say they're just like ABC News.
In the media, you mean?
Yeah, in the media.
Now, we're talking with Eric Boehlert from Media Matters. Now, here's another point of view. My producer, my executive producer, Pete Callahan, is texting me that Bill O'Reilly is a fictional character who sometimes talks about the news of the day, but that he basically, puts on his Bill O'Reilly costume and, like one of the lizards in V or something. He just shows up. It's just a character he plays. Now, I guess what you're saying, it's interesting to me. I mean, I think Pete's right on one level, but I think it is what you're saying is basically don't let that disempower us when we've got the guy at least partially on the ropes for a lifetime of lies.
Right, and then the piece I did early in the week, I said, where's Fox News internal review now? When NBC got in trouble with Brian Williams, when Rolling Stone got in trouble with the University of Virginia rape case, when CBS got in trouble with Lara Logan and her Benghazi. The initial, common sense response is if you're really in deep with a major controversy, you do an internal review or an even external review. You re-report everything, and you show people what you got wrong. Now,
I'll go you one better, Eric Boehlert. I'll go you one better. Let us play this one exactly the way the right wing played it in the Dan Rather controversy.
Good one.
Let us demand not only
millions of dollars
that a review be conducted, but that millions of dollars be spent for a left-wing organization to investigate Bill O'Reilly. I nominate Media Matters, actually.
Right, or move on, or Eric Holder, now he's leaving office. Right, that would be the equivalent.
I'm thinking Daily Kos, too, might be possible. But, really? Isn't that what we're talking about here? That we've got a guy who is accused of lying and that he is a journalist and that he whatever. Yes, he's a fictional character. He says he's a journalist. They say they're a news organization. They've got a flagship guy. Why wouldn't we just make that demand?
Yeah, and and again, he sat down with a one-on-one interview with Obama before the Super Bowl a year ago. Probably got 10, 20 million viewers. He doesn't look like an entertainer. Why are we just sort of throwing away this idea that he ought to be held accountable just because he works for Fox News? Again, this is not Greg Gutfield. This is not Brian Ducey. This is not some sort of clownish character. This is the face of Fox News. He considers himself one of the most important journalists in America, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's somewhat misguided to kind of rush in and say, "Oh, none of this matters." It's just Fox News, and you're just making. He loves all of this attention and things like that. And the thing on Twitter today is, "Oh, his ratings are way up," and things like that. Glenn Beck, when he was in the middle of a controversy, and his ratings went up too. 18 months later, he didn't have a job at Fox News. So this idea, when your ratings go up, that means, everything is great. Not necessarily the truth.
Well, and the other dimension of it, just before we close, the other dimension that I want to make people understand is that this is also, from all reports, and I did encounter him in a restaurant once, so that's a story for another time, but this is a guy who, from all reports, is a mean person. I mean, and one of the aspects of this that didn't get enough attention also, in my opinion, were the open threats he made to a New York Times reporter looking into this story. And by open threats, he said verbatim, you can consider this a threat. So I don't think there's ambiguity, right?
It's very interesting. One of the things that's come out, and I think the tally, if you talk about CBS journalists, if you talk about Inside Edition, I think we're up to 13. If you talk about the people who worked with him in Dallas, et cetera, we're up to 13 or 14 journalists who have come forward and said everything Bill O'Reilly is saying about this case, where I was, is a lie. And then they also say, God, he was a jerk. Boy, nobody trusted him. Nobody liked him. He was a relentless self-promoter. He would not tell the truth. We couldn't wait till he left, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I guess the moral here, and I really thank you, Eric, for pointing out that we need to keep pushing and pushing on this story, because it's really revealing not only who Bill O'Reilly is, but what kind of quasi-news organization he works for. So I guess we got about 30 seconds left. Any final thoughts on this? What are you going to report on next about Bill O?
Not sure there. We'll just keep following it. I mean, he's got a long history of reporting, and we're going to look into as much of it as we can, and anything we can absolutely document that is a complete fabrication. We'll put it out there and see if he or Fox News has any response.
Well, I know you're a professional and you're objective, and you will report it that way, but don't be embarrassed if you have a little fun along the way.
We never do.
All right, good. Eric Boehlert, Senior Fellow at Media Matters, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure thing. Talk to you soon.
You bet. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and this is The Zero Hour.